This is one of 3 entrances. So this is the entrance to the MSI cohort. They come into an airlock. The space beyond is one of 4 mobility equipment stores. So those of you who are familiar with the layout of school, you'll know students get to their education zones by walking through a mobility store. So each of the 3 cohorts has its own heart space, because students tend to stay in their cohort for their entire college careers. Lovely touch. The people who've been putting all the lighting and plumbing and heating and pipework in here have donated 3 what are called sky ceiling panels, and 1 will go in the entrance of each of the cohorts. But it's like looking up at a sunlit sky through trees or whatever it might be, and each scene will be different for each of the 3 cohorts, so it helps them identify where they are. There's also colouring to help identify. That repeats on 1 or 2 of the key walls, not everywhere. It's quite selective. Big north-facing roof lights, harsh sunlight and shadow is avoided. We've got a quiet room and a dark room in each of the cohorts. 3 individual teaching rooms, but in this case, because this is the sensory cohort, this room isn't an individual teaching room. It's going to be fitted out as a sensory room. So it'll have a musical water bed, it has interactive projection onto the floor and the walls, bubble tube, colour change lighting. Because this is the sensory cohort and the greatest need, there are actually 3 full shower bed hygiene rooms in this space. What tends to happen is we've got all hoisting here, and then the hoisting reduces the further east you go and the further towards the autistic spectrum. So every cohort has 4 classrooms. So all 12 classrooms are the same size, all the same layout. So all of them have large amounts of storage against the back wall. You can see the hoist tracks in place, and these are the tails for the traversing beams that ride up and down. All the windows have what are called interstitial blinds, so the blinds are between the panes of glass. In these particular rooms we have a wet area over on that far wall. You can see the plumbing in on the wall there, pipework and waste drainage, but that doesn't apply to all classrooms, and that's probably the single biggest difference. So now all the lights are actually manually controlled, but they're all dimmable as well. So this is the sensory theatre, or the immersive space as it's now become known. We were going to have a blackout line that was white on the inside that you'd be able to project onto. And what the staff are really after is interactive projection, so in other words, students are able to touch and interact with whatever's being produced. Eventually we'll be projecting onto that whole wall, half of the 2 side walls and half of the floor. What makes this room really special is the floor. We've got a recessed floor here. Where you're standing now is recessed, and this is going to be turned into a sound floor, and it will have speakers and vibratory drivers built into it, so deaf and partially hearing students will be able to experience sound through vibration. It should be a really superb space when it's done. The interns room. One end is a teaching space. There's a teaching wall, goes on the far end, sort of sliding whiteboards, interactive screen behind, cupboards and so forth. This end is more of a social space, so there's a kitchen and brew station over on the far side, a peninsula unit that can be used to eat at or for work. Colours chosen by students in association with staff. Every area has its own little separate identity, and trying to give it an adult kind of theme appropriate to the age of the students. This is more of a general purpose room, so this can be used for cooking skills, it can be used for laundry skills, but it can also be used for crafts, art. So there's a door diagonally across into the next life skills room. Again, colours appropriate to the adult setting, and just to differentiate between the worktops and colours that will be white. So this room is predominantly for cooking, and there are 5 workstations here. 3 ultimately of the 6 that we have in these 2 rooms are height adjustable. So this is the IP room, so the central bank of desks, and then the desk here, another teaching wall at this end. So this is the entrance to the autistic spectrum cohort, and this is the performance space. And this is the only one of the specialist rooms that has an entrance not off the southern corridor, and that's because of the noise that this room is likely to generate. This looks like a single wall, but it's been built as 2 walls, separated by acoustic insulation, so that hopefully the sound was created in their stays. So there's going to be a green screen in there, but there's also a really substantial number of colour change spotlights, and they're adjustable spotlights, so we can have backlighting, we can have front lighting, we can have audience participation lighting, we can flood the room with colour of one type or another, so a lot of flexibility in that space.